at that point was you have someone who has this baggage that he's been dragging along in his presidency. They speak of the state-owned enterprises that were once shining objects of South Africa Inc. And now we're seeing that some of these companies are being liquidated as we speak. Some of them they look like they're going to be sold, and they place this blame firmly on you. There's no one else being mentioned besides the leaders of those parastatals who were under your leadership at the time. So the reason for removing you as a president at that time, they'll say no, but you were not doing a good job. You were taking unilateral decisions, and you were milking the system. So that is a counterbalance to your argument.
No. Well, I don't know those who argue like that. One of the things that tells you or confirms what I'm saying, the behavior of the ANC leadership after conference was very strange. Ever since I've seen the leaders of the ANC since our independence, there is no leader who came in and started attacking the leader who has been there before, not defending the ANC, particularly if a leader has been part of the decisions that has been made. We always found ways, even if there were things that people can criticize, to defend, because those were ANC things. We're not individualizing things. It was proved within no time that the statement that you had 9 wasted years is not true. There's concrete evidence that is there, but that was telling you that the new leadership was looking at the leadership of the ANC different than the culture of the ANC. It was un-ANC, not at all helping the ANC to grow, but making it learn how to fight among themselves, etc. And I think we have said enough on that one to clarify the issue.
Sure.
And there is evidence to be seen. It was during this time that the country for the first time had what we call the National Development Plan, which was never there before. An achievement of very great courage and work that was done. We could count many other things, and I'm sure at some point we'll have time to do so. That behavior leading up to Nazareth,
yes.
After Nazareth, and ANC. No ANC culture at all in it, and ANC.
Yeah. Look, I think there's been some mistakes that our ANC government has made, but I definitely believe there's been more milestones. There's been huge contribution to South African society, to the South African economy by ANC leadership before you, during your time, and we're living in a time where we're going to see if that'll be the case after your time. So I think the critics out there, people talking about 9 wasted years, and I'm not saying this as a family member, I'm just speaking just generally, because not everyone is at fault. Not everyone is to blame for certain situations. The one thing that the ANC has taught us is collective leadership. You move in a collective. So whatever decisions are made, and this is how it's carried itself across throughout its time. Whatever decisions are made, there's the arguments that will happen behind closed doors. There'll be the debating, the discourse that'll happen. But once a decision is made, whether you like it or not, this is after you've placed your arguments on the table, after you've placed your ideas, your ideologies on the table. Once those have been either accepted or defeated, because not everyone can see things the same way, then it's a pointless exercise. The decisions that are taken, move forward. You move forward from those decisions together. So to blame individuals, to blame groupings, I think is a bit of a shortfall in this conversation, because it takes us nowhere. So I'm not defending you. That's not what I'm doing, but I think I'm defending the idea of a collective decision-making
leadership.
leader.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely true.
And your relationship since then, I'm sure you go to excuse me, you've been to NEC meetings, you engage with leadership, old and new. How is your relationship with the guys and girls?
I think it's very cautious. I attend the NEC as a member not elected, and they call the ex-officio member. Very cautious. I have very deliberately not participated in the discussion, in the debates that take place, partly because I did not want people to say, if I debate issues in this way or another, it will look like I'm defending my legacy or whatever, or I'm trying to rule from the grave. So I've allowed people to move, but to be there, to make sure that I'm seasoned with what is happening in the organization, where necessary to put across my views. I thought in the period that has passed, it was important I gave people the space to argue. Not that I'm not going to debate issues. I'm a debater, I love debating. But I think it was important to respect, particularly because of what I've just explained, that if we have come to a place, things are changing and people are behaving in a manner that is not necessarily NEC, you can't come in and then look like we have come to fight the battles. So I've allowed things to move, and I feel fine with it, that the leadership must satisfy itself whether it is doing okay or not. Particularly if people really, instead of looking at what do we do to change the country, to advance the ANC, believe that they should spend time individualizing criticisms, etc. So I did not want to be party to that kind of debate. So that's why I'm there cautiously, and there's not that I can't debate issues, but I think it was fair, so that I wouldn't be coming back to those kind of issues. I should allow the situation to move and to see whether ANC people and the supporters of the ANC see that there is something untoward or there is something wrong that we needed to deal with. So it has been quite a situation that I've been looking at it in a particular way. And of course, as you know, I was never given an opportunity because as I was moving out, the cases were being piled on me, as well as difficulties. Debts were created for me so that I should even not have the capacity to deal with the cases or whatever. So I thought it was important to be cautious, as it were, and to stay with the comrades, but cautious.
Yeah. You see, you just mentioned something about debts created and difficulties, and I'm assuming that's financial difficulties. The popular idea out there, not just for yourself, but for a lot of us, is that you have billions stashed away some, I don't know, maybe there's a special room somewhere there. There's a popular belief out there that this is following on from the answer that you gave me, that debts were created for you, you face some difficulties, and I believe those would be financial difficulties. Now, that would go against what a lot of people believe. They believe, not just yourself, but myself and many others have got these billions stashed away somewhere in the world. Maybe there's some special bunker there that was built by whoever built it. to stash these gold bars and cash and whatever else it is that they believe that you have there. What is your take on the statements that have been made that you have made crazy amounts of money and you are sitting on riches? Why are you not using that money to fight your cases and other things?
I wish I was sitting on money. Nobody's ever showed me where is this money that I'm sitting on.
I'm looking behind you there. I think I see a little dollar note. No, sorry. No, I thought I saw some dollars behind you there. It doesn't look like some books. No,
You see, I've never made money. That was not my task. My task as a cadre of the ANC was to work honestly in the ANC, not take money or steal money. And nobody can point at one single penny that I stole. And therefore, that's why I wouldn't have the money that people think I have. And I'm saying in addition to that, the new leadership looked at things differently. For an example, the cases I was having, government in the past had an agreement that if you are charged whilst you're in government, the case processes will be paid by government. Only if you lose the case, you then refund the government. If you don't lose it, you don't refund. And I even heard an agreement with President Mbeki, who signed that would be the case. But the new president did not want to associate himself with it, so that he was saying, let us let him out there to dry. There was a very cleverly worked out situation wherein, much as I did not do anything with anything in my homestead, which was the decision of the family that we should extend our homestead, but deliberately, the courts of this country were made to give me a debt of 8 million, which I did nothing about. So unfair. The state department felt that since I was a president, I needed the security features. It's not, I did not ask. And the state department says so. It is us who said we should do this and that. But they say, no, you benefited indirectly with your family. Now, that tells you, because that kind of a finding, I mean, all presidents, where they are staying, they put features of security that was put by government. Not a single one has been accused of benefiting indirectly with the family. Only me that has been done to create a debt so that it will be difficult to pay for the taxes, difficult to live, difficult in everything. That's why I'm saying I've been singled out to be dealt with by either state apparatus or former comrades or comrades, if they are. I'm just saying, this tells you that since Nazareth, the manner in which we were dealing with one another or whatever has been different. And therefore things have changed. So I had to be condemned on one side, I'm corrupt on the other. There was 9 wasted years on the other. He's a criminal, he must be charged, etc. So that's what has been the case in my democracy. So instead of enjoying freedom and then participate and be part of everything, people have been not sleeping, planning how to deal with this fellow called Jacob Zuma.
What is your take on your 9 years of being in the highest office? Now, this is your own view on your own running of government as a leader of government.
No.
What is your view in a nutshell in your 9 years that you're in the position?
I think we made a lot of progress. We did a number of things that people forget. As I said, I initiated the coming into being of a plan of the country, the National Development Plan. It's still a matter whether we are implementing it as I foresaw it is a different matter, but at least we've got a plan for the country. You can't say that's a waste of time. I also introduced some departments that were necessary to introduce in order to change the quality of lives of our people. For an example, I introduced a department called the Rural Development that was not there before. And people that received assistance and support from this department in a number of areas. Instead of theorizing about rural development, we created a specific department to deal with. We had, for an example, the issue of education, one department which was a problem that almost every time the matric results came, you could not be certain. You did not know what is it that we will get as a result. It was fluctuating, no certainty. I introduced the basic education department because I said, if the foundation of a scholar is not firm, it would be a guess whether the results are good or bad this year. That has helped to create a foundation in South Africa that today, the issue of the matric pass is no longer a guess, it's a certainty. This is what I did. In fact, at some point when this department was beginning to level the ground and solidify where we're going, some comrades came to me to say, when I introduced it, they did not agree with it, but they now agree they can see what it is all about. We introduced a number of things during that year. When I came in, people were dying like we have never seen before through the HIV and AIDS. We had been discussing it as a government. We had even a plan, but we were not implementing it. So when I came in, I implemented that and changed the lives of people. Now, if you were an honest person, you said these 9 years were wasted as the biggest dishonesty, particularly if you were part of the things that were happening. I'm merely mentioning a few. We were moving very far, for an example, with our joining the BRICS grouping of countries, which established a bank as big as the banks that you have, with a different approach, which if we utilize that relationship, would not be crying of lack of funds or whatever, because we knew exactly where we're going. I think we created kind of relations, both internally and externally, in a very clear manner that you can see what we're doing. So I don't agree. I think it is unfortunate that people make those kind of assumptions. And I think they are all aimed at not helping us to move forward, but really to create a conflict that is not necessary. Then in the 9 years, I'm just counting a few things because I'm not here to count everything. Counting a few very tangible, very there, you are able to move to see where we're going. I can count a lot of things. We looked at even at the economy, the ocean's economy. Today, nobody talks about it, but it is a reality that if you go to the ocean and create those economies, it's huge kind of economy that we'd come to say this is what we're doing. And there are more things I was going to be doing if my life was not made too short. So I'm just saying, the critical point is that even if we talk about the SOEs, we were wanting the SOEs as the government or the state's things to be utilized to further the economic development, to take them out of trouble. But I was faced with a problem of some people who did not want it to change, even when there were plans and everything, would not implement. So I can go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. My view, looking at the economies of the world, in no way, if you follow many economies of the world, you can succeed. Because many they've succeeded, but they always fluctuate. I think the Chinese economy, that is the answer to many, many things. Because whilst allowing businesses to grow, people to run companies, but it has state companies that are given the strength and the capacity to be able to address the responsibilities of the state to lift the standards of the people. And that's what China has done. And that's what South Africa could easily do. And that's where I was going. And therefore, I would argue very vehemently that whoever says it was the wasted years, it was just propaganda.
Understood.
I don't know influence and perpetuated by what, but it was propaganda.
Understood. Thank you very much. In South Africa, there's an interesting dynamic that exists, and it's a network that runs throughout the whole country, even though it may be in different sets and subsets, but they're there, and that would be kingdoms and chiefdoms, all the way from Limpopo. We've heard of the king of the vendors, King Tony Mpeku. You go down to the Eastern Cape. There's this majesty that exists there, even though it's changed hands and there's some disagreements in the households in part of the kingdom there. Kingdoms in the Northern Cape, the Khoi and the Sun, the Pondo King. You look at the king of the Zulus, and there's a lot of chiefs that exist as well in between that are part of a very solid network in South Africa, in South African society. Now, my question would be, bearing that in mind, because it accounts for a vast population of the South African society, even though it may be rural in the main. There is fundamentally a representation of the different households, the royal households, in the South African political space via the local, the provincial parliaments that exist. We hear about the different kings, the different chiefs. We hear them from time to time. But I feel, and this is my view, I feel like they are not given a proper opportunity to showcase what they're about. And when I say that, if you look at the way the kingdoms are set up, there's kingdoms that exist as well in the Northwest, the Bafokeng and others. The way the kingdoms are set up, they, within their subsets, control a lot of wealth. They may have land wealth that may be agricultural. There's mining wealth that exists. We've seen how some of these kingdoms have taken it to the next level when it comes to mining activity and how that has created wealth within those communities. How the royalty in South Africa been given a realistic opportunity to contribute to the South African economic space? We've spoken about an ocean economy earlier on.
Well, South Africa, in a sense, the process of colonization was also complex. Coming to a country where the societies were very organized, they tried to disorganize them and tried to reorganize them in their own way. But I don't think they've succeeded to do so, because the traditions, the manner of how our society was very strong. And it was interfered with. But what colonization could not do was to finish off the manner in which governance and authority was. In fact, there's a long story about it, wherein they had to reinstall a new kind of chieftainships for their own liking, under their own kind of thing. So when we were looking at our freedom, I think reorganizing of the society under a democratic society, I think we have tried something. For an example, there has been a research about who were the kings, who were not the kings, and that which has reduced the number of the kings, because at times colonialists will put additional their own kings for their own interests. So all of those kind of things we've got to deal with. But what remains the fact is that the manner in which the society was organized remained under the chieftainship. So what we have done, I think democracy created something that was never there before. One, a house of traditional leaders nationally. That began to give them a space to participate as the legislation and other things are being discussed. They have now a house where they can sit and consider all of this. However, to advise in one form or the other. Their house don't necessarily have serious final decision. Then you have provincial house of traditional leaders who also meet and have discussions with the same kind of legal thing of advising if the laws are being made. They are given the different individual traditional leaders are given councils which sit with them. But before that, you have municipalities where they also participate to be part of the process. But I think what has not, which they complain about, some of them, some don't, that the issue of authority, they still feel they need authority, but there is that kind of history which is not easy to do it. I think it will take a long time as the population grows. How do we really synchronize all of this? I think it's going to take a long time, but a good attempt, I think, has been made. Some traditional leaders are very happy. Some, of course, would not be. But I think an attempt is being made. There will always be room. There will always be room to help modify, make it even look better, etc. So I think it's early enough for our system to say we could have a perfect round table thing, but I think we have tried our best.
Okay. Umntwana, the prince, Mangosuthu, is a living legend, and I'm raising him because we celebrate him. I celebrate him. He's been an integral part of our South African history, more especially our recent history. As you all know, KwaZulu-Natal for a long time was a very contentious area. It was a very volatile area. And he's been at the head of the Inkatha Freedom Party for forever. He's led it from strength to strength, and he's still relevant today. He attends parliament even at his age. I raise him because I salute him. I appreciate him. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, bumping into him under different circumstances, and I hold him in the highest regards. He is the last of a dying breed. Every time I see him, he's been very relaxed, very welcoming towards me, and he's spoken about you in high regards to me, and he's always asked me to pass my regards to you, which I always do. What has been your interaction with him? Because there's a timeline that exists where it always hasn't been as I see it, and as I'm sure the rest of the world would see it. It wasn't always a time where it would be a straightforward discussion over a table, because there were serious things happening pre-94, and especially that period leading from 94 up until a point where there was the peace that was the peace settlement that happened in KwaZulu-Natal. So what have been your experiences of the living legend, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi?
No, I think with regard to Umntwana Phindangene, we have had very cordial and respectful relationship historically. I've known him when I was a young man because of the role he was playing in KZN. Also known him in politics, much as at the beginning he was dealing with my leaders, but also came the time I had to deal with him. And other people, like Bishop Zulu, may he rest in peace, quite a number of people that I've come to work with. So I've respected him very much so, and I knew also his influence within KZN and the country to some degree, and we still respect each other very much. And of course, I've also worked with him, and I've had a lot of important discussions with him. And always he has been respectful to me. I've been respectful to him. We even grew very fond of each other.
I'm sure.
I know also that he he has felt very aggrieved about the treatment you have got, because he has talked to me a number of times about it. In fact, one day in one function, when after they had put handcuffs and leg irons when we were appearing in court, you don't know how much that disturbed him. He literally cried tears when we met and called your name number of times. It's about what has the child done? So he is very fond of you as well. So I regard him as an elder, a father. We have discussed with him a number of serious things. As you know, we discussed the issues of violence. And as I were to discuss or to participate in violence, I thought it was important for him to understand where I came from. That my idea was not to participate in violence, but it was to stop violence. I felt very strongly that we as Black people were killing one another, unfortunately, and that was uncalled for. And I also happened to know that there was a third hand that was influencing that from our enemies then. So I had had quite a lot of confidential discussions with him. So I respect him, and I'll respect him all the time, as I've respected other elders as well. And I think he has played his role. You could look at it in different ways. For an example, when other homeland leaders were accepting independence as if they were independent when it was they were not. He stood very much against that, to say if he accepted that, he would be stripping the citizens of their citizenship. Very principled person to deal with that. And I think that's the reason why our enemies worked very hard to try to turn him around against us particularly, etc. But he was very strong, and that's why when we were dealing with the violence seriously, we were able to reach an agreement and finish violence particularly in the province of KZN. So I've respected him, and I respect him.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people should remember that he's very level-headed, and I mean it wasn't a simple time in the South African history, and for that peace accord to have been struck with him at the helm of the party, I mean it says a lot about where his mind is at and where he wants to see this country positioned. But I just wanted to touch upon, I mean, he's a royal, he's a prince, he's a doctor, he's a head of a long-standing political party, the IFP. And a lot of people may not remember, but he was also a movie star. He acted in a 1960s movie titled Zulu, directed by, my memory serves me right, Richard Burton. So you know he was doing the TV thing back in the 60s already. So it says a lot about his character and his go-getting attitude.
Yes.
And His Majesty the King, King Goodwill Zwelithini. How is your
Well,
relationship with him? When's the last time you spoke to him? We hold him in high regards. He's ultimately our leader. He's the leader of the Zulu nation, and that's the way we see him. We respect him. We love him. We also celebrate him. He's done a lot for the kingdom, for the Zulu kingdom. I've had the pleasure as well of meeting him on a few occasions, and we miss him. We don't hear from him much. He wasn't well. We just missed him at the opening of the KwaZulu-Natal legislature because he wasn't feeling well. Hopefully he's recovered from then. But from our side, we just, our best wishes are with him. We still need him. There's a long way to go, and his leadership is more necessary now than ever. How's your relationship?
Yes. Very, very, very good relationships I have with His Majesty, our King. He is our King, and I regard him as my father. Although, of course, I'm older than him, but that's the respect I have. I think he has gone through a lot of challenges, and I think he has stood his ground on a number of occasions, and he knows exactly, and he loves his people. And I think through him, the Zulus get respect because he is a very respectful king, but also very keen that the conditions of the people that he's a head of should have a better life. And he has done a lot of things to try to bring a development. When we have discussions at times as two of us, you get a lot of wisdom from him, as well as guidance. Is highly respected. I think the fact that as a leader of one of the leaders of the ANC, as well as therefore the leaders coming from KZN, I've always felt that he ranks at a level where you need him. I think also it was so important for some of us at one point where we thought he needs to not to get into deep party politics. As a king, I mean, to rule is political. He should have it, but he succeeded to balance, for an example, wherein there have been two powerful or two big political parties in his province. I think he succeeded to handle all of us equally without moving to one side. And I think a lot of princes coming from Ndlunkulu played their own role to balance that, because it was absolutely important. A king is a king of all of us.
Yes.
And we are like children of the king, and all of us would love to have that love. And I think the king succeeded to balance that, and therefore made all of us to have respect of one another. And I was also very happy that he had a very close relationship with our icon, Umadiba, when Madiba was still alive. That to me was absolutely important, because it said a lot of things that other people could not read, perhaps at another point. So I remain very close to the king, and I feel at times, if I haven't seen him for a long time, I actually miss him, because if we meet, we have very good discussions at the level. In fact, just before I got sick, we had agreed that since I'm now a pensioner, I could have time to come and spend the whole day with him, just talking and sitting and talking about many things that we need to talk about. So he's my king, and I respect, and I think he is a very wise king, very, very wise. And then when you meet with him, almost in the majority of times, you learn more things from him. He knows his people very well. So I am very happy with His Majesty the King.
All due respect to His Majesty, as he's once said before, governments come and go, but the Zulu kingdom remains.
Absolutely.